much, Daniel.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's my pleasure to be here with you, and also pleased to have Paul with us. He will pop in on the call when he thinks of some additional information to add on to something I'm saying when I present the first part about guests, and I will do the same when he is presenting the second part about how to cast a spell over the members. So I'll page down to our, I think I'm going to page down. There it is. Here's what we thought we'd present to you today. We've had the introduction. I'm going to talk about how to attract guests, looking at is your club attractive to guests, and some promotional ideas. And then we'll have a question and answer session after that part. Paul's going to do part 2 about casting a spell over your members, which is really about taking care of your members. Looking at if you know what your members want and if you know how to satisfy your members. As well, we'll have a question period at that point. So please feel free to type in the questions in the chat box, at least in the way I have mine organized here. At the right-hand side, I have chat down here, and I can click on it and type in a chat message there. So if you're familiar with those terms, then we'll go on and have a look at what's happening with how to attract guests to your meetings. So how do you actually attract guests? And what I'm thinking here is, how did you first find out about Toastmasters? It seems to be one of those best kept secrets. So if you could type in the chat box now how you found out about it. Did someone tell you, a friend, a colleague or something? Or did you see a poster up for it or a brochure somewhere? Or were you doing some Google research and happened to come across it? And then I wondered, what was your need that you were looking for it? And what keywords did you come up with? So if you could go ahead and put some comments in the chat box, then Erin will tell me about them in a few minutes. From my side, what I noticed was a colleague at work it seemed suddenly that she was more confident in what she was delivering in her presentations, because she had been this meek, mousy sort of person, and you wondered what she was trying to say. But then she changed. So I asked her what had she done different, and she said she joined up for a Toastmaster group. And I thought, well, I want to be better, so I'm going to join this, or at least find out more what it was about. And I wonder, my second question here is, do you wish you had known about Toastmasters earlier? I know I did, and I know I wish I would have gotten more involved earlier, just because of everything that I've learned within Toastmasters. My third question is, have you told your friends about Toastmasters? So I actually know from experience that initially I was not good at telling my friends about it. I was better at telling acquaintances about Toastmasters, because at least for me, it was, oh, well, do I want my friends in the same group for them to see the difficulties I'm having with it? Or would it be better if it's just an acquaintance that I told about it? But now I shout it out to everybody. So, Aaron, would you like to tell us about some of the answers that are coming in, how they found out about Toastmasters?
Sure, lovely. Most of them actually found them through search online and recommendations from learning and development departments, or some from Twitter, parents. Some, just for embarrassment from me, is searching when I was looking for a drink, which was the funniest reason why I was doing that. And one is from his sister. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, just look at that, right? Are we telling our family members about it, let alone our friends? And if maybe a trusted person like a family member or a friend does tell you about it, you're more likely to join up. I can think of all of what we typically do is if we find a good restaurant that we like to go to, we're saying, oh, you know, they had the best service, you know, let's go there and to that restaurant. And if we became that enthusiastic and told our friends about Toastmasters, then it would really spread. So point number 4 that I put there, are you proud of your progress and your club? Because it's typically if you maybe don't feel so confident yourself in your progress, or maybe have never reflected about how good your progress is. Maybe you don't tell people at that point. But if you think of the progress you've made, I can see it in people after 3 speeches, they just become more confident in what they're presenting. And especially they're not feeling as nervous, and then they have an easier time to put together a presentation, and even a presentation at short notice. As well, I see confidence in their leadership abilities. Once they become an officer in the club, they just grow that way as well. So if you would like to also type in a comment about what benefit or what you've seen out of your progress, put that in the chat box as well. And I'll go on and talk about point number 5 is nowadays we have so many more ways to tell our friends. In the past, you probably had to pick up the phone or write a letter to them. That's going way back. But now we have so much in social media that you can tell the people about your friends. So I think in any of the social media sources, get on and tell people about how much fun you're having at Toastmasters and how much you've learned about it. And if you just look at speech number 9, persuade with power, at least in the old system, right? Then there's a source to learn how you could persuade your friends to join a club. So, Aaron, are you getting some comments about people saying how they've benefited from Toastmasters?
Yes, I'm getting some comments. Some of them are actually mentioning the improvement in their confidence and structuring at their speeches. Moreover, about composure in dealing with speeches that are short notice. And finally, there are some comments saying that it helps them to engage with the audience better.
Yeah, and if you shared those ideas with your friends, your family, or whatever, then to me, you would be getting more guests to come to your club. So I'll go on here to my next thoughts here, and that, oops, I jumped one. And do all of you know about the Moments of Truth modules in Toastmasters? You could type in the chat box, yes or no, because this is just one of the parts in the Moments of Truth that I thought we should look at, and that is, it's a first impression. Is your club attractive to guests? Sorry, I'm just gonna get rid of my chat here. I don't need to see that. Pull it off to the side a bit. So here's some questions, some that I thought up because I don't think all of them were in Moments of Truth. And the first one I thought of is, can your guests easily reach an officer? And I put by telephone here to ask about attending the meeting. And the reason I mentioned this one is my telephone number is in Easy Speak and on our website for one of the clubs I belong to. And consistently on the day of the meeting, I'm getting phone calls to say, oh, is it okay if I come? Or, oh, where are you meeting? So that's why I think it's important to have a phone number there. People want to confirm before they just show up. Second point I put is, can the guests easily find your meeting room? Is the address easily, is it stated clearly on your website or wherever they might be looking? And do you put up some signs if you're meeting in a hotel or a conference center? Are there signs on the door or in the lobby or on the meeting room door so that they know where to go? Maybe some big arrows pointing that out. Then once the guests get to the door, are they greeted warmly? Do you have someone standing there ready to shake their hands or, warmly welcome them into the room? Are they introduced to the officers that might be there and then other members? So I know one of the best greeters that we have in our club will shake the hands to the person and then will quickly hand them, the guest, over to another member who's readily standing there. And that member will then take them to sign the guest book and will show them the agenda and what's happening. And then, of course, that means another greeter needs to come in for the second guest that's coming along. This has worked so well in our clubs because then the person instantly feels welcome there. I mentioned we have a guest book, and also we have some stick-on labels for the guests. Most of our members will have their own name tag on, and so when we see a stick-on label, then we know that's a guest. You might also have pin-on labels in some other way too. And just think, is your meeting room professionally arranged in some way? Does it look like it's going to be a meeting happening there and not a party if somebody thinks that they are coming for a Toastmaster arranging a party that way? You might want to consider if your meeting room is convenient. Do buses come by? Buses or trams or something come close by? Is there easy parking? And then is that information also available on your website so that somebody who checks the website will know that? Once they're in the meeting, then by all means invite the guests to introduce themselves at the start. I don't even have that written on that slide, but get them to introduce themselves or have someone who invited them, in case they feel really nervous, have that person introduce them to the rest of the group. And then see if they might want to join in the table topic session, or at the end of the meeting, perhaps they'd like to make a comment about how they enjoyed the meeting. And here, invite the guests to join the club. Sometimes in some organizations, you can't just join. You have to be specially invited to join. So we had we had guests come and they kept expecting to be invited and nobody in our club was inviting them. So I think it's really specific to make it open and say, when you're ready to join, we're here and we have the form available. An idea I picked up with last year's Region Advisor Aletta was to have member moments. And this is during the meeting, there's a member that pops up and does a short, I can call it a table topics, about what they have got out of Toastmasters. I learned this or that, or I've become better at this or that. And that makes such an impression on the guests that show up. If you have any questions as we're going along, then please type them in the chat box and I'll take them in a few minutes if Aaron will keep me reminded of what's coming along. I'll go along to the next section that I put in here. I see my page down wasn't working. So what I wanted to put forward now is some promotional ideas, because to get a guest to attend the meeting, there obviously has to be something that has attracted them to come to the meeting, because how would they even know that your club exists? They have to find out in some way. So I have a list, and I gladly show you on the next 4 slides the ideas that I've seen. But if you have an idea of promotion that seemed to work for your club, how about if you write that in the chat box now? Ooh, nobody has any promotional ideas. Oh, here it comes. Paul says meetup. There was one just before that. Meetup, 2 times meetup. Wow. Facebook groups, absolutely. The official Toastmaster forum. Okay. So by that, I think maybe you mean the page of Find a Club at Toastmasters, Aaron. Is that what you mean?
I was referring to there's a forum for all Toastmasters to join in the Facebook group. There's a there is a member group that has 20,000 members in there.
Okay. And do then, because you're in Hong Kong, and thank you for joining us in the middle of the night, do people find your club in that forum?
Oh, I was promoting for one of my other clubs, which was an online club, and that's unrestricted, so it's actually possible to promote there. But for my local club, is just like what many people said, Meetup will be the common channel.
Okay. And Jill is mentioning recommendations. Absolutely. Word of mouth, says Deidre. Promote open nights, pop-up meetings in the local library. Fantastic. And pictures on Facebook. Meetup. Right. Poster at the venue. LinkedIn. I think we forget LinkedIn sometimes. The Freshers Fair. Okay. And excuse me for not understanding. What is the Freshers Fair? That must be Daniel who wrote it.
Yes, it's the Cranfield University Club. That's their big open night to the new student intake, and that attracts 80 new students as a demonstration night.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, and there's one that I've never thought of, the church newsletter. Wow, yeah, there must be even maybe ministers there who want to improve their speaking skills. Google Hits on the club website, also very strong. A YouTube group, oh, absolutely. Eventbrite, have events, yeah. Making sure that the Toastmasters is, the club is on toastmasters.org with the club details correctly positioned there. Oh, and here comes more flyers. Okay, so I think you've got lots of the ideas. Let me just quickly run through some of the ones I put on my slides coming up. Maybe there'll be something new for you. And trying to get it to change. Oops, I wanted to go here. Newspaper articles. Just as we were getting into this meeting, Daniel was mentioning about newspaper articles, and especially for social events, like when an award is given or like when a contest is happening. One idea that's also worked once in a while is we give an award to somebody who already has lots of press coverage, an award for like the best speaker in, this month, or the best speaker for the year. And that also gets us the press coverage because that person has it. I didn't see in the chats, but anything about local talk shows on radio or television. I mean, people are still listening to radio and television once in a while. And if you have a theme like overcoming the fear of speaking, then that's definitely going to appeal to some people, or some other personal development topics. You've mentioned all the social media, Facebook, Twitter. How about Facebook Live? I don't think I saw that. And blog posts and even vlog posts. Vlog is, of course, a video log post. I've seen a couple of groups trying that, and that's getting attention. Meetup groups has been very popular here where I'm living in Gothenburg, although I have heard of some smaller communities saying that Meetup is not known in their community, so nothing, they get no interaction from that. Your website, number 6, be sure you have the keywords available so when people search, they find it, and keep the website up to date. Some of you may be using EasySpeak. I know our clubs here in Sweden are, and we also have our own promotion page in EasySpeak, and that gets us people as well. So here's an idea that some of you might not have thought about, and that is a postcard. So in Gothenburg, where I live, then we created a postcard that shows all the Toastmaster clubs in the city with some basic information about it. And then we send that out to past members, and then our members also send it to friends. So I'm just going to quickly go down a couple of pages. And here is the front part of what we had on our postcard. We do this in A5 size, a bigger size. So a little bit about what Toastmasters is, and then on the back side, we have all the Toastmaster groups in West Sweden and how to reach people. So quite often people are handing this to their friends. As it just occurred to me, there's no actual address position on this card. So either they put it in an envelope if they're going to mail it out, or they're handing it to their friends. If you don't have lots of clubs in your area, then just put your information of your local club. We mentioned this about talking to your friends. We said friends, we said family, but what about your work colleagues? Hopefully you have a good relationship that you can feel confident to invite them. But what about your doctor, your dentist, or people in the elevator at some building you're at? And especially have a brochure in your briefcase or your computer case so you can hand them a brochure that talks about Toastmasters with a contact number or name on it. I know in the building I'm at, we've been able to put posters in the elevator. In this case, we miss the people, usually the people up to the 3rd floor take the steps. We also had to put some of the posters on the doorways of the steps. But the elevator worked well for the people who were on the higher floors. And then we varied the poster. We kept it changing so there was a different message every once in a while. And especially if you have different meeting dates on the poster, then you'll need to update the poster. We've had a fair bit of luck with some local government where, for instance, the local government in combination with the Chamber of Commerce had some meetings for people that are new to the city. So they agreed to promote our club on the list of opportunities that they have for new people coming to the city. Libraries has also been fairly popular. There are still people who use a library, and we've been able to put copies of the Toastmaster magazine and the contact details on the magazine. I'll keep going for a few more. I believe somebody mentioned the freshers at the universities, technical universities and business schools. And here's one I believe I forgot to put in. In Portugal, the Toastmasters there were able to get in touch with the Alumni Association of the business school. And then they worked with the Alumni Association and they put on a special event. And that special event, with something along the topic of how to be a better speaker, that special event attracted over 300 people. So it was positive promotion both for the business school and the alumni, and then it helped the Toastmaster Club get going. I'll go on with number 20 that I have here. Why not do some educational sessions at high schools or speech contests or debate sessions? Get the high school students interested in it. And although they're not able to join until they're 18, then you're setting the ground for it. What also connects with high schools, of course, and I believe I have it further down, is having a speechcraft or a youth leadership program. Maybe you could type in the chat box whether you know about youth leadership or speechcraft. Yeah, just write a comment there. Yes, you do, or no, you don't. And I'll come back to it. We've had some community events like in the summer, Speakers in the Park, and this has been popular. We have the soapbox kind of thing where somebody stands on it, and then we conduct basically a whole Toastmaster meeting in the park. I mentioned already groups for foreigners that move to the city. This has been through our Chamber of Commerce. But what we've also found is, at least here where I am, is that there's groups for the Spanish-speaking people, the French-speaking people, the English-speaking people. And when we go out with information to them, it's become very popular. We get people who want to practice either the Swedish language or they want to practice English more when they come to the city. And they'll do that by giving presentations. We also have business cards for the club. And each member has their own. They're easy to just print off a few themselves. And whenever they talk to people, then that's a reminder. Here, I'll give you my club card so you can join us at the meeting sometime. As well, other community groups like the Lions or the Rotary, those kind of groups are looking for people to come and make presentations. So why not go and visit them and show them how fantastic you are as a Toastmaster to do a presentation. Some clubs have Toastmaster pins, and I hope you do. That creates interest and people ask you what it's all about. And as well, if you're an officer in the club, why not provide the special officer pin for your members? It creates interest. And I think I put together one more slide of some ideas. And I'm going to make sure I save the chat for the ideas that you forwarded to me. So I believe somebody put in the chat about posters. I mentioned posters in elevators, but why not in other business locations, in lunchrooms they may have, at a cafeteria, at a business park. And here's an idea that I have in number 27, a business park. And by this I mean where there is an office building where many different businesses are renting space. And we contacted the business park because we said we have a win-win situation. You want something interesting for your tenants to stay in the building, and we have a way to do that. So first we started off by offering seminars to the business park people, and then we said, well, what about if we open up a Toastmasters meeting at this location? And this just zoomed off tremendously. People loved it, and we still have a Toastmaster club going at that location. Number 28, I mentioned earlier, the youth leadership session for teenagers. And don't forget to invite the parents as well, because the parents are going to, if their kids are getting better, the parents are going to be better too. Speechcraft is like a session to get more members, and you can run it as a 6 to 8 week program. You get credit for your advanced leader awards, and you run it basically like a Toastmaster meeting. Some flyers, why not in coffee shops, libraries, businesses, corporations, Chamber of Commerce newsletter, maybe on windshield of cars. Different ideas that work in different places. Number 31, I have give an elevator speech. So while you're traveling with somebody up in the elevator, have your 30-second speech ready for them to talk about how Toastmasters is. And then the success stories is what I also mentioned earlier, and that is a member moment. What success or what benefit that you got out of Toastmasters. And finally, for my ideas, then a club newsletter, so electronic or print newsletter that goes out. So, Aaron, I'm going to pause for a minute and let me know if there's some more ideas that came in the chat box or questions.
Currently, there aren't any questions, but there are quite a lot of discussions about youth leadership.
We might be speaking to the converted. They might already be doing it. Oh, there's a good one in the last chat comment, and that is ask every member to contact 10 people they know and invite them to the meeting. We should add on. Yeah. Webmaster made it. Oh, the club website was top on Google search. Wow. Coffee shops, open house, parish magazines, one-page Toastmaster flyers with contact details, absolutely. Publish a report of the meeting in the local paper with a photo, okay. Business cards. So lots of similar ideas. Did anybody get one new idea from what I mentioned? I'm going to go down in the chat here and not telling all of it. Youth leadership was positive there. Okay. Oh, a pop-up meeting. Why not? Wow, yeah. Youth leadership running there and speech contests. Member moment. They work really well. Making a song. Okay. I just saw somebody post on YouTube about how a member of parliament, I think it was actually from Australia, in his presentation in the parliament did a song. Toastmaster pin, absolutely. So great. With these ideas, then I think these can be a way to promote your club in different ways. I got one more idea on a separate page here, and this actually came from, oops, sorry, wrong page. This actually came from Aletta again, last year's regional advisor. They this club here, the Two Oceans Toastmasters.co.za, put together a little video that they put up on YouTube, and basically it was pictures and little text in between, either on the picture or in between, and it talked about the fun things that were happening in that Toastmaster club, and this got a lot of people being interested in the club. So I mean, it's pretty easy to put together a little video with just pictures and then text in between, or text on the pictures. I also wanted to mention the promotional materials that are available at toastmasters.org if you need them for your club. And I know some of the brochures, if you're ordering other materials, then you can get up to, is it 10 or 20 free brochures of the certain types from toastmasters.org. Okay, let me see how I am time-wise. Oh, I'm going way over time, guys. Are just any questions come in?
Nope. You're fine and free to go.
Okay, good. There was my postcard. There was a public relations post, and we've no questions right now. So I would like to introduce you to Paul Jensen, who's the past District 74 director, and he's going to talk about how to cast a spell over your members so you can keep them. Over to you, Paul.
Good morning, everyone. Hi from Brisbane, Australia, where it's 5:30 in the morning. So we're going to start talking about members. So my first question for you as attendees on this webinar is, how many of you think that your club has a membership problem? In the chat box.
There.
If you'd like to say yes. Anybody think their club has a membership problem? Some of you and some of you not. About 15 years ago, I remember attending a club officer training session with Lois Strachan. She was a past District Governor of District 74, and she was doing a session much like this around membership growth. And she started off her session by saying this: no club has a membership problem. You can imagine in the room the deathly silence after she said that. She then proceeded to describe and support why she felt that. And essentially what she was building up to is our standard material around moments of truth. She was talking about the fact that many of our clubs are very capable of attracting guests. The problem that they have is in converting those guests to members and then retaining the members themselves. But part of the challenge of that is to change the way that we look at things, to consider that, in fact, we don't have membership problems, that our clubs are more than capable of attracting guests and converting them to members. My next question for you is, when you think about your clubs, if I was going to invite you to a particular activity this evening, would you rather be invited to a meeting or an event? In the chat box, please indicate to me which of those two words you'd find more attractive if I was going to invite you to something this evening. Do you want to be invited to a meeting or an event? Yeah, most of you agree with that. If your club is holding an event is a must-attend activity. that's something that's exciting, that has a theme to it, that has a reason why you should be in attendance. Lance Miller visited District 74 a couple of years back, and one of the key points that he emphasized was that as a club, we should be running events, not meetings. And he described as an event as something that starts on time, ends on time, and everything in between is worth your time. And as clubs, if that's where we're focused on, the member and their satisfaction and what they want to get, then we're in a situation where we're inviting guests and members to come along, not to meetings, but to events. These are activities that are must attend for them. One of the key elements for that is that every event you have as a club has to have a reason why you should attend it. A theme, a guest speaker, a particular skill you're going to learn, sometimes a club contest, sometimes a visit by someone external or a district leader, but clearly a reason why the guests you're talking to or the members you're talking to should attend this must-attend event. One of the drivers that we use in Toastmasters in terms of training our club leaders as to how to convert their guests into members and retain them is called moments of truth. I don't know about you, but a decade or so back, I attended a number of moments of truth sessions, which I think one could accurately describe as a good way to put you to sleep. When I attended those, I got a bit frustrated, and so I did what most people do. I Googled it. And when you look at moments of truth, it actually isn't a Toastmasters invention or idea. Moments of Truth comes from an organization called Scandinavian Air Systems. It was developed by their CEO back in the 1980s. His name was Jan Calzone. When he joined Scandinavian Air Systems, they were 14 out of 17 airlines in Europe in terms of their customer satisfaction rating and in terms of their ability to deliver what travelers want, which is on-time flights. Jan Calzone went through a process and turned that organization around. And the essence of what he did was two things. He converted the organization into a customer-focused organization, where the customers and their needs drove the strategy of the organization and the way that they built their services that they delivered. And the second thing that he did, which is really key, is he empowered the staff to be able to make decisions when they interacted with clients. So a moment of truth is an opportunity where a staff member interacts with a customer and has an opportunity to change that customer's perception of your organization. So this is exactly what Moments of Truth is in a Toastmasters context. Toastmasters is a member-centric organization. Members are at the top of our pyramid as an organization, and Moments of Truth, in essence, helps us to empower our club officers so that they understand how to interact with their members, so that they can change the members' perception of their club with each interaction that they have. If we work our way through the Moments of Truth, so Elizabeth started off with the first one, which is first impressions. The balance of each of those building blocks help orientate club officers towards the needs of members and help them understand how a member perceives their interaction with their club. Talk about membership orientation. So when the member first joins the club, and do we as club officers make sure that the new member understands how the program works, how they can interact with the other club officers? Do we understand what the members' needs are from a learning point of view? Look at the third moment of truth, talks about fellowship, variety, and communication. So this talks to the actual members' experience during the events that we run. Do we make sure that they understand how they can take advantage of the Toastmasters program fully? Do we create an environment where there's fun and spice? There are visitors from other clubs. Do we make sure that they understand how other members are benefiting from the program? Elizabeth talked earlier about members' moments, which is something that we have done successfully in District 74, where we allow our members an opportunity to be able to share what Toastmasters has done for them. And I'm sure that's done many other clubs worldwide. The best clubs in the world certainly emphasize that particular point. And then program planning and meeting organization, another key moment of truth, where you're looking about how much value is there from a learning point of view for the members when they attend our events. Do they know in advance what the event's going to be about? Do they know in advance what their role is in the event? Are they orientated towards pathways? Do they understand how pathways works and how they can take advantage of it? Are there opportunities for them to practice all of the key Toastmaster skills, prepared presentations, how to give feedback, speaking without preparation? And a key element, are the evaluations positive and encouraging that the members are receiving? What I think is key here is to draw that connection between moments of truth, which essentially look at all of the interaction points between our members and the club environment, how that is in fact not just a Toastmasters principle, but something that's used outside of Toastmasters. And the interesting aspect of that is that when we're training club officers on moments of truth, if you can communicate that what they're being taught is not some Toastmasters theoretical idea, it's something that has application in the real world outside of Toastmasters, it has far greater impact for club officers when they consider that. This is a customer service skill that they're learning. It's just this is in a Toastmasters context where we're focused on our members. Aaron, I don't know if there's any questions around
Nope. Nope, not yet. Go on.
that? Not yet. Okay. So, being mindful of the time, I've sped up a bit how quickly I've passed through that material around focusing on your member. I think the point I'd like to wrap up around is that comment from Lois that no club has membership problems. And when you look at something from a different point of view, often the solution is a lot more easily available to you. And often our club officers are in a situation where they feel that their clubs do have membership problems. When I attended that training session that I referred to earlier, that Lois Strachan delivered, so my home club was Taverners, and we were in a situation where our membership was heading below 20 for the first time in many years. And the perception of our club officer team was that we did have a membership problem. And after attending the session that Lois delivered and changing our perspective, that we didn't actually have a membership problem. The problem we had was the quality of what we were delivering to our members. We started to think and use some of those tools inside Moments of Truth to look at the events we were delivering in a different way and help our other club officers and members to understand that as well. Our membership turned around. Within the 6 to 12 months following that training session, our membership was back up to 30 plus. The other interesting thing about Lois's session is that often when we're engaging with club officers and we deliver training, we forget that every year 40% plus of our membership changes. And so most of the people who were in the room and attending the training were probably not there the last time. So while we may have heard that message the last time we delivered this training, to repeat it is advantageous to those who are attending it for the first time. And the other key part is sometimes it benefits our club officers to hear the same message more than once, because sometimes they didn't listen the first time we mentioned it. Even as club officers and district leaders, we sometimes forget the basics of the Toastmasters program. And Moments of Truth is one of those building blocks, because those clubs that are successful in understanding Moments of Truth and how it relates to them as leaders and the club that they're in, and successful at implementing it every year, not just once, will continue to deliver must-attend events for their members, which will make sure that their membership is above the 20 mark, which is part of Moments of Truth. Because if you think about it, have you ever attended a club where there are 5 or 10 people in a meeting? It creates a totally different kind of impression. It creates an impression of a meeting that you don't want to go back to. So it's critical that we have meetings that are attended by 20 plus people and that are conducted as close to what we can get as a group to match the criteria that Moments of Truth emphasizes for us from a Toastmasters point of view.
Paul,
Aaron, are there any other questions?
Paul, I see there was a question came in. Aaron, are you able to read it out?
Yep. Okay, the question is, what were the most successful things you did to increase membership? That question is from Freya.
So I think that the key part is to start off with the premise that we're running an event, not a meeting. And the essence of an event is, why should I attend? And the answer to that question is, well, we better be delivering something that's of value, something that's value to our members and our guests, and that has a draw card to it. Because, you know, I attended my home club, South Bank Toastmasters, a week or so back, and we meet fortnightly. And like all of us, I have other things I could do with my time. I've got friends I could spend time with. I have family members, other events, other learnings I want to attend. But for me, South Bank delivers every fortnight. Every time I go there, it's fun. I learn. I meet new people. And so that's the essence of an event from my point of view. And as a club, we need to be doing that every single time we meet. Not just once every 3 months or 6 months, every time.
I really like that idea, because if you put up something special, you know, a theme or a visitor or something every time, then it does make it something special. Maybe clubs might have a difficulty coming up with a theme every time, but why not get together with your board and set out a theme for every meeting? And why not invite your district officers to attend? At each club, obviously, an area director has to visit 2 times a year, so make it a special time when they come to visit.
Yeah, and ask the area director to deliver some content of high value for your members. And so while we might consider DCP to be very important from a club perspective, that title in and of itself is not something that your members or guests want to hear about. But planning for success, overcoming adversity towards your goals, those are titles that are far more exciting and far more broadly appealing, even though they might be backed up by DCP and should be backed up by that. But how you position what you're going to deliver in terms of content is key. Think about it. If you were not a Toastmaster, would you want to come along to a meeting where the focus was DCP, an acronym, something that isn't necessarily very real to you and also doesn't seem to have any real world applicability to it? Whereas planning for success, okay, yeah, that's something I could do with some more information about, some learning on.
I was sort of thinking if we have our members who indicate in advance what speech topics they're going to do too, I mean, you can certainly pick up on that and make a promotion out of that, especially with some of the new things coming along in pathways. If you indicate that it's the path, visionary communicator or something, I mean, it's like, oh, well, that sounds sort of interesting. Maybe I'll go along to that.
Yes. One of my home club members, Kate Duncan, is exceptionally good at humor. And she's well renowned for that in our club and in our district. But that has appeal outside of Toastmasters. Learning how to introduce humor into your communication is a powerful ingredient and something that many, many people struggle with. So that has appeal outside of our club. As an example.
I know one of the topics that I do as a special event for clubs when they need to get members is how to make a speech. I'm forgetting my exact wording on it, but how to make a speech when you're short of time. How to prepare a speech when you're short of time.
Yeah, speaking with little or no preparation.
Yes.
That's actually the tagline that we use in our meetup for our home club, my home club. Aaron, were there any other questions? I thought I saw something in here in the chat.
They actually were discussing some ideas that can actually help to market Toastmasters to members and guests.
Yes.
Such as, for example, they have suggested some parties. They've also suggested some open nights, like open house, for example.
Yes.
And I suggested a Pathways Forum, which can be interesting for members to know more about the education system, and also the guest who wants to know about how we are doing on updates in public speaking.
Yes. I think that the key ingredient here is the event that you plan, the title or tagline for it, has to be something that's appealing for non-Toastmasters. So talking about pathways is not something that's of interest for non-members. Talking about the future of public speaking or the future of business communication or how to deliver, how to lead teams in the future, those are titles and concepts that appeal outside of Toastmasters and are underpinned by many of the components in our current program.
Right. I was seeing what a comment that John wrote here where he said coffee and cake. And for some people, food can be an attractive, a way to attract people. Actually heard it from Balraj. He said, food is a way to attract people to come. So why not use it if you can get somebody to, if your club has some funds to provide the cake, or if somebody's willing to bake the cake, or whatever it might be.
Yes.
Educational sessions, power of chocolate, right? And especially if you were going to give a speech about chocolate, you know, how to find the best chocolate or something like that. Champagne and nibbles for social networking, for sure. Great idea, Aaron. So what I'd like to do now to just wrap up the session is to, I think I still had one more slide I wanted to share, and just one second here, and that is, if you still see my screen, then my challenge as we end up here is, what are the action steps that you will take? What is at least one action that you could take to get some guests to attend your club? Out of all the ones we said tonight, what is one that you'll take? And then what is one action that you'll take to get members to stay in your club? Paul mentioned a whole pile there. So if we could just hear, why don't we unmute everybody? And if we started maybe some alphabetically, what is one action that you will take? Aaron, you're first on the list. Tell us one action.
Well, the first action, or the only one action that I'll be taking, is to really follow up with all the guests that attend my club with magazines or some news information that's happening in the community to keep them updated with Toastmasters.
Thank you. Danny, you're next alphabetically.
Probably posters in cafes and things like that. I think that's a good idea.
Great. Deidre, are you able to unmute? That's one action that you could take. Okay, maybe the unmute doesn't work. Faye, would you like to add a comment? Okay, it looks like it might be not so easy to do the unmuting and come in. But Larry, you're unmuted. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I found Paul's idea of events instead of meetings very interesting. So I think I have one club that's struggling at the moment, so in my division. So I think that's a great angle to approach to try and get, as he said, non-members in an event. I think that's terrific.
And I think adding on with Meetup or Eventbrite, where people register to attend the event, it will make it more exciting as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Super. So I think we've hit the top of the hour here, and I thank all of you for attending, and it was great fun to present this to you. I hope you've got some ideas to take and share with your clubs. And I will say thank you for me for this evening.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Great. Hope to talk
Thank
to you
you.
again in another webinar. Bye for
Thank
now.
you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul.
Thanks.
And,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.